She returned home to care for her grandmother and discovered a dark family secret. The film opens by showing an 85-year-old elderly woman named Pilar, who lives in Madrid, Spain. At that moment, she is casually having tea at a cafe. When she looks at her wristwatch, something strange happens. The time suddenly stops just before 8 o'clock. After that, Pilar goes to someone's apartment, where she finds the lifeless body of another elderly woman lying on the floor. Inside the apartment, there is a birthday cake belonging to the dead woman, as well as a photo of a young woman inside a drawer, positioned at the center and surrounded by strands of cut hair forming a ring around the image. Strangely, Pilar shows no emotion at all while witnessing the woman's death. Not long after, a young woman arrives completely naked and hands Pilar a matryoshka doll. Pilar looks extremely happy to see her, even kneeling down and kissing the young woman. The scene then shifts to a professional model named Susanna, who has been working in Paris for 6 years and is Pilar's granddaughter. Susanna has lived with Pilar since childhood because both of her parents passed away, and every few months, Susanna routinely returns to Madrid to visit her grandmother. After finishing a commercial photo shoot, Susanna tries to call Pilar, but when there is no answer, she leaves a voice message saying that she cannot return to Madrid to celebrate their birthdays together, which coincidentally fall on the same date, March 22nd, because she still has important work to do. That night, Susanna relaxes at a club frequented by models and talent agents. She and several friends enter a private room to use illegal drugs. Shortly afterward, St. Gabriel Hospital in Madrid calls Susanna, informing her that Pilar has been hospitalized due to an accident and is still unconscious, though her condition is now stable. As Pilar's only remaining relative, Susanna is asked to come immediately. Without wasting time, Susanna flies to Madrid the next day. While sleeping on the plane, she dreams about her childhood, remembering a moment when she saw Pilar laughing together with other elderly women. Upon arriving in Madrid, Susanna goes straight to St. Gabriel Hospital, where a female doctor explains that a few days earlier, a neighbor had found Pilar collapsed in her home because the front door had been left open. After medical examination, it was discovered that Pilar suffered a brain hemorrhage caused by a ruptured blood vessel that damaged her brain tissue. As a result, Susanna's help is urgently needed because Pilar will struggle with daily activities. Her motor skills and speech have declined, and she may not even recognize Susanna anymore. Unfortunately, there are no other relatives who can help, and Susanna's parents also died in an accident when she was still young. The doctor suggests placing Pilar in a nursing home, recommended by the hospital, where her needs could be properly handled. However, Susanna decides to bring Pilar back to her apartment instead and plans to hire outside help to care for her. Susanna takes Pilar home to her apartment, and because there is a power outage, she opens all the windows to let in natural light. Inside, she notices dead plants, an empty birdcage with no bird inside, and suddenly sees Pilar standing up from her wheelchair, staring at a massive painting of herself from her younger days. For the time being, Susanna stays in the apartment to take care of her grandmother, who remains silent and vacant, unable to speak a single word. Because there is no mirror in the apartment, Susanna decides to buy a small one so she can see herself. Susanna also notices photos of herself from a perfume advertisement displayed around the apartment. That night, Susanna's boss, Elvira, calls to check on her. Elvira informs her that a job originally meant for Susanna has been reassigned to another model named Zoe. After the call, Susanna feeds her grandmother, but Pilar suddenly chokes, forcing Susanna to help clear the food from her throat. After laying Pilar down on the bed, Susanna hugs and kisses her beloved grandmother. Later, while doing her nighttime skincare routine, Susanna notices a single strand of her hair has turned gray, and not long after that, Pilar screams in terror from her room. She is so frightened that she even soils the bed, for reasons unknown. Susanna patiently bathes Pilar and lays her back down, then watches YouTube tutorials on how to properly care for the elderly, such as placing waterproof pads under the body and putting on diapers. After finishing her caregiving duties, Susanna briefly checks out Zoe's Instagram. When Susanna finally falls asleep, someone enters her room, and it turns out to be Pilar, completely naked. Pilar slowly approaches Susanna and puts her finger into Susanna's mouth, but it is later revealed to be only a dream. The next morning, Susanna continues feeding her grandmother, who strangely laughs non-stop while watching the news on television.
Abuela, tienes que...
Because Pilar keeps laughing and becomes difficult to feed, Susanna turns off the TV so she can focus on eating, but Pilar continues laughing for no clear reason, leading Susanna to assume it might be a side effect of the brain hemorrhage. However, while placing food in the kitchen, Susanna notices something odd. Every clock in the apartment has stopped at exactly a few minutes before 8 o'clock, which she dismisses as a coincidence. While Susanna is showering, someone rings the apartment doorbell and it turns out to be Eva. Eva explains that she has met Susanna several times before and that their grandmothers were close friends. For the past 4 months, Eva has frequently visited to help Pilar with household chores, take her for walks in the park, and she even has a key to Pilar's apartment, which is how she was able to enter earlier. Eva says she has been unable to contact Pilar for days and came by out of concern, prompting Susanna to explain Pilar's condition. Eva expresses her sorrow, especially since she spoke with Pilar just the week before and everything seemed fine. Eva also shares that her own grandmother recently passed away due to illness. Because she was so close to Pilar, Eva already knows a lot about Susanna from Pilar's stories, as well as from Susanna's photos in magazines and advertisements. Soon after, Eva takes her leave, and Susanna thanks her for having looked after Pilar so often. Susanna then continues searching for elderly care services, but all of them refuse because Pilar has a special condition. Fortunately, one foundation agrees to help, and a caregiver is scheduled to come to Pilar's apartment in 2 days.
Vale, no pasa nada. Lavarla, acostarla, moverla. Ella tiene 85 años. Llamaría a todos los...
As usual, Susanna continues caring for her grandmother and closes the bedroom window that was still open before going to sleep. She also promises Elvira that she will return to work in Paris as soon as possible. Not long after, Susanna hears noises coming from the apartment hallway, and when she checks, she sees Pilar talking to someone inside the room, even though no one is actually there. Suddenly, the lights go out. Curious and frightened, Susanna steps inside and the door suddenly slams shut. When she returns to Pilar's room, her grandmother is already lying on the bed, staring at the window, which is open again. After locking the window once more, Susanna hears Pilar's bedroom door open as she heads back to her own room. Fighting her fear, Susanna checks on Pilar again and sees that she is trembling. Panicking, Susanna calls an ambulance, but Pilar suddenly falls back asleep. Disturbed by these strange events, Susanna is unable to sleep that night and decides to watch television instead. The next morning, she checks on her grandmother, who is still sleeping peacefully. Susanna then remembers a childhood diary hidden above the bed, secured with a lock and only accessible with a key that she once hid behind a poster. After opening the diary, Susanna reminisces about her childhood memories, revealing just how deeply she loves her grandmother, Pilar. On their shared birthday, March 22nd, when Susanna was 8 years old, Pilar invited her close friend Julita for the first time. Julita arrived with her granddaughter Eva, who was the same age as Susanna. That day, Susanna and Eva were given a red-colored drink that tasted strange but pleasant, and Pilar also cut Susanna's hair for reasons that were never explained.
La abuela, conozco de la abuela. Este año por nuestro cumpleaños vino una amiga de la abuela. Esta noche...
After feeding Pilar, Susanna notices a photo of her grandmother sitting closely with Eva. She then goes outside to smoke and sees that the perfume company has replaced her with another model for their advertisement. Realizing this, Susanna immediately calls Elvira and tells her that she will return to Paris soon, since a caregiver for Pilar is scheduled to arrive the next day. However, when Susanna returns to the apartment, Pilar suddenly disappears. Panicking, Susanna searches for her throughout the streets until nightfall, but Pilar cannot be found.
Abuela.
Eventually, Susanna returns to the apartment and calls the police to report her grandmother missing, only to be shocked when Pilar suddenly appears sitting in front of the door. Susanna asks where she has been, but as usual, Pilar says nothing and does not respond at all.
Sí. No, ya. ¡Abuela!
Susanna grows increasingly frustrated, especially when Pilar refuses to open her mouth while being fed and suddenly spits out the food onto Susanna's hand, even laughing as Susanna reacts in anger. After laying Pilar down on the bed, Susanna immediately falls asleep. Soon after, she notices a flickering light coming from outside her room. Curious, Susanna checks the source of the light as it grows brighter, and something horrifying happens. All of her hair turns gray, her teeth begin to fall out, and her body rapidly ages. Suddenly, once again, it is revealed to be only a dream. Strangely, Susanna wakes up in Pilar's bed while Pilar is asleep in her own room. Not long after, a caregiver named Adela arrives as promised to take care of Pilar and warmly greets her. Adela then leaves, explaining that she will officially start working the next day at 11 a.m., while Susanna plans to return to Paris that afternoon. Feeling relieved, Susanna believes she can finally go back to work without worrying about her grandmother. However, as she steps outside for some fresh air, Susanna is horrified to see Pilar murmuring incomprehensible words, her hands moving unnaturally as she faces the window as if performing a ritual. Suddenly, a loud noise is heard from outside, and it is revealed that Adela has been killed in a traffic accident at the exact moment Pilar finishes her chanting. Terrified, Susanna refuses to return to the apartment and instead isolates herself at a ramen shop before resting at a bus stop. Eventually, she remembers the nursing home brochure that the female doctor once recommended. Early the next morning, Susanna returns to the apartment and finds Pilar still standing and staring out the window. Without hesitation, Susanna takes Pilar to the nursing home along with her belongings and can only apologize for leaving her there.
Para estar muy bien aquí.
After returning to the apartment, Susanna sends a voice message to Elvira informing her that she will return to Paris that night. However, while cooking eggs, she is horrified to find them filled with maggots. At the same time, the news reports that the nursing home building has largely burned down due to a sofa fire that spread rapidly, though fortunately no lives were lost. Susanna is deeply disturbed by the news, especially when she suddenly finds Pilar back in the apartment, smiling at her, filling Susanna with fear. After witnessing Adela's death, the nursing home fire, and all the strange events she has experienced, Susanna becomes convinced that her grandmother possesses supernatural powers, or in other words, that Pilar may be a witch. Knowing that she will never be able to escape her grandmother's power, Susanna desperately decides to poison Pilar's dinner. After being fed a few spoonfuls, Pilar suddenly begins to struggle to breathe and eventually dies. Not long after, Susanna's phone alarm goes off, showing exactly midnight, and the date is March 22nd, their shared birthday. Susanna then calls the police, reporting that her grandmother has just died from choking and asks for an ambulance to come immediately. Right after that, Susanna is shocked to see that the photo which originally showed Pilar together with Eva has now changed into a photo of Susanna standing beside Eva. Suddenly, the house phone rings, and it turns out to be Eva, who strangely calls Susanna by the name Pilar. At the same time, Susanna notices maggots crawling inside her grandmother's food and even inside Pilar's mouth. The electricity suddenly goes out, and Susanna hears the sound of a lighter being flicked. Slowly, she walks toward a glowing room and finds a lit candle placed directly in front of a painting of Pilar when she was young. Susanna tries but fails to extinguish the flame until it suddenly goes out on its own. Then the table beneath the painting opens, revealing a photograph of Susanna as a child, surrounded by strands of her hair that Pilar had once cut and kept. It is finally revealed that Pilar and her close friend Julita had made a pact with a demon and performed a ritual to prevent themselves from dying by transferring their souls into the bodies of their own granddaughters at a certain age, precisely on their birthdays. just as Julita had already taken over Eva's body. This is why Pilar was so delighted at the beginning of the film to see her friend alive again inside a young and healthy body. Terrified, Susanna hides in the bathroom, but cracks suddenly spread across the wall and shatter the mirror. Susanna attempts to escape the apartment, but Pilar's power stops her, and all the clocks begin to ring at once. Susanna suddenly loses control of her body as Pilar takes over, throwing her violently to the floor. Slowly, Pilar walks toward Susanna while chanting and making strange hand movements, forcing Susanna to open her mouth. Moments later, Pilar awakens, now fully inhabiting Susanna's body. The clocks begin to function normally again, and Pilar approaches her former body, whispering, "Your body is yours, but your heart is mine." In the final scene, Pilar, now naked, gazes at the large painting in her apartment, which has transformed into her new appearance, Susanna's face. Shortly after, Eva arrives and admires the new body of her dear friend Pilar, and the story comes to an end.